Mayor Jacobs.
I am here.
Committeeman Hagan.
Here.
Mr. Travellini.
Here.
Mr. Organa.
Here.
Mr. Leonard.
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Present.
Mr. DiGiannini.
Present.
Mr. Walter.
Here.
Chairwoman Beckhoff.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Bedminster Township Land Use Board was filed with the Township Clerk, sent to the Burnersville News and the Courier News and to all subscribers, and posted at the Township Municipal Building, 1 Miller Lane, Bedminster, January 6, 2023.
Stand for flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll open it up to the public. I don't think we have any public. I don't see anybody. Lou is the only one on Zoom. Okay. Thank you guys. It was a surprise. Appreciated. Thank you.
Janine.
I know, Janine. It was her fault. I know. But thank you. We have minutes.
You're not going to tell us.
No, I'm not.
You're not supposed to ask. I didn't ask.
He wasn't asking.
He wasn't
Right.
asking, and I'm not telling you.
I created the opportunity. You could have spoken into that opportunity.
Okay, we have minutes to approve. We have March 2nd minutes. If everyone has had a chance to look at them and approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve March 2nd minutes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. We also have minutes from March 9th. See those?
I'll make a motion to approve March 9th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I will abstain.
I'm abstaining as well.
Yeah.
And closed session March 9th.
Yes, after the end of the meeting, we'll have a closed session.
No, the minutes. I think, don't we have to vote on those as
Yeah.
well?
Oh, separately,
Yeah,
Tom?
vote on them separately.
Oh,
But
okay.
Just so everybody knows, closed session minutes are stamped, limited, but they also are confidential, so you approve them, let them out. After you approve them, you keep a separate book of closed session minutes. Essentially, sometime in the future, we'll open them, but even when they're open, usually they get redacted as to anything that's confidential, and certain times pretty much remains always confidential. So a lot of times, closed session minutes also get redacted and produced. And that's really following because that's the purpose of the.
So we need a motion to approve the executive session.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
I'm abstaining.
I'm abstaining. Okay.
We'll open these sometime before the Oswald files are released.
Everyone will be so.
After the last
So interested in them.
20 years after the last decision.
Right, as King Charles.
Are we going to talk about the flood damage ordinance? Are we talking about that tonight or no?
Yes.
Yes.
We are?
Yeah,
Okay,
I sent
didn't
the
see-
consistency review so you could actually recommend to the governing body that you've done the finding that you need to do, and they can act on it any time.
Okay, so I guess
The
Paul?
brief background is that in order for municipalities to be in the federal flood insurance program, you have to have a flood damage prevention ordinance. Bedminster has had one for many years. However, the state and FEMA have determined that they're not consistent across the state, and they're not consistent with both their sets of regulations. So they're working their way across the state, county by county, having everybody adopt the model ordinance basically that you see in front of you.
Basically, we're not changing it.
Yeah, you're not changing anything. There were some options in there that, in my mind, create tremendously draconian punishment to people who might happen to be in a floodplain, that were optional measures, and I took the initiative to take those out. Things like, excuse me, making substantial damage 25% instead of 50%, making substantial damage cumulative. So if you have potentially 3 events that are 8% or 9% over a period of 20 years, you're automatically substantial damage and you have to raise the whole house. And those kinds of things are a little bit extreme. And it also formally adopts the maps. You've probably heard a lot about the new DEP flood hazard regulations that are coming out that will be raising flood elevations. They don't directly impact the flood damage prevention ordinance because that is related to flood insurance, and the new state maps will not impact flood insurance.
So have the maps changed substantially?
No, I'm sorry, the maps are not changing at the state level. I misspoke. The new state flood elevations will not change flood insurance.
Flood insurance is FEMA, the new state flood elevations are due.
So the firm maps are still the firm maps, or
Yes.
flood insurance rate maps? Firm.
So what you're being called upon to do as a planning board is to review for consistency with the master plan, an ordinance update of the existing flood map ordinance, or hazard map ordinance of the township. And the question is whether you find it to be consistent with the master plan or at least not inconsistent with the master plan. Frank gave you a memo on the subject. Generally speaking, this is not the kind of thing that would be inconsistent with the master plan. One, because you already have had for many decades an ordinance that regulates construction in the flood hazard area, and two, you've already envisioned that in the master plan. And you've always been a town trying to address and prevent damage in the flood hazard area. You can't totally prevent it, but your zoning is very limited to what can be built. And for many years, you've had flood hazard area restrictions. I don't know if you remember some, but like sometimes people come in and their driveway is actually through the flood hazard area, or even a part of their house is already in it, and they need to seek a variance to let you do some change to it, it is in the flood hazard area, typically along River Road and maybe near River Road, and there's probably other places, but there are not that many new houses in those areas, in the particular hazard area. It's really hard to get a new house.
You talked somewhere about a flood administrator. So,
That's cool.
oh, it's you.
Poor guy.
And I'm the floodplain administrator. Basically, as I review the permits that come through the construction department into the floodplain, then I flag it and we go from there.
Are you a CFM, Paul?
Yes.
So the reason you can do this work partly is because certified floodplain managers have been educated by FEMA to be, I did it too, but he's good at it. I don't do it for a living, he does.
Beyond me.
Well, I think really floodplain regulation and management of floodplains, there was a house down in Stockton that got really badly flooded in Ida. And when they first picked it up, the entire floor, because that's how high it had to go, it looked ridiculously out of place in the neighborhood. I thought, well, that's going to be the dumbest looking house ever. I'll send you a picture tomorrow of how it turned out, because what they did was they put a wraparound porch and a bunch of pillars underneath, and they gave it dimensionality where it really doesn't look stupid at all. You got to go up a giant flight of steps to get to the old first floor level, but you don't need an elevator for grandma.
It's the entire place on Long Beach Island now. That's the whole leg. That's it. My house is probably the only one not raised.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, they want to raise them 12 feet.
Yeah.
How much is that? $70,000?
I don't know, I didn't ask. You want to know?
Doesn't want to know.
How long would it take him to come up with that height?
Told me about that.
You know, so do we have to make a motion or something?
So, yes,
Well, is there any other
he can
questions
summarize
for us,
what,
Attorney?
maybe if he summarizes his memo, then to make a motion, he'll authorize sending his memo. But he should summarize it.
Does
Every time
anybody
we
else-
talk about this, I remember my English teacher telling me about double negatives. But you're gonna make the finding that this is not inconsistent with the master plan. And you're gonna do it in part based on the fact that the master plan is based on the municipal land use law, which seeks to secure safety from fire, flood, panic, and other natural and man-made disasters. So right in the base of the law that gets you zoning and planning, you've got that. And then through the course of your conservation plan, there are specific references that I alluded to in the memo that you can rely on to show that this, and as Tom said before, the fact that we already have an ordinance like this that came out of those policies in the past. So we're upgrading it. Clearly, it's consistent with the master plan, but we're not allowed to say that. I'll let somebody make the motion.
So it's a motion, I guess we should open to the public, but there's no one here, but we should.
So it's this, we have a memorandum here, stated March 6th, so that should be presumably April.
Yeah, that would want to be April 6th. I probably signed it, right? I mean, my name is on it.
So that's the lot coverage that we got today.
Yeah, then you also have a little memo from Robin, but that's just telling you that it's been introduced. And Paul has kind enough to send the whole ordinance.
Yeah. Frank, you didn't sign it.
Okay, so yeah,
You had the whole planning board put the wrong date on, because it says it's from the planning board.
That, Paul. Yeah, I figured if I'm gonna be wrong, I'm gonna make everybody wrong.
so do you have that in Word?
I'll change the date when I get back to the office tonight and send it right.
All right, yeah, because I just want to make sure that when this goes to the TC,
Right.
that we have something that was considered after introduction.
Yeah, that's a really good way to do it.
Okay.
Just saying.
So unless you have a question, we should open to the public. I'm here, but we'll open.
Public's not answering.
And so is there a motion to confirm that the board reviewed the introduced ordinance number 2023-002 and finds it not inconsistent with the master plan and refers that the memo of the planning board dated now April 6, 2023 to the Township Committee for adoption.
I'll make a motion. Tim.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Committeeman Eastly?
Aye.
Mr. Travellini?
Aye.
Ms. Urbana?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Rodelius?
Aye.
Mr. DeGiovanni?
Aye.
Mr. Walter?
Aye.
Chairwoman Gotcha.
Aye. Motion is approved. Okay. Now we need to go to Frank. I guess we're back with you with the talk about.
I was gonna say, I should let Paul present my memo, because he'll do it way faster than me, but then I thought, no, that's a challenge for me, so I'm gonna do it way faster than me.
Okay. It's a challenge, Frank.
Just
It's a
saying. So
challenge.
here's how this works. Last month, we concluded what it says at the bottom of page 2. Change the R10 lot coverage to 7.5%. Paul suggested that number, everybody thought that seemed reasonable, and exempt outdoor arenas, so that anybody who's doing equine agriculture and wants to have an arena, not in a building, but outdoors, because that would still count as coverage.
Right.
So that's what we decided to do, and if I hadn't looked at all this other junk, I would just say that's what we decided to do. The reason I'm now telling you that we're not done with this, although you might well be done enough to make a change to recommend a change to the ordinance right now. You thought you were maybe last month. What I found troubling was that when I went into our graduated lot area, lot coverage requirement in the R3 zone, there's another thing Paul called attention to last time, that we had done it, something different in one of our zones, and we did it with inhabitable floor area and lot coverage. So there are incremental differences as you go up in size of lots. And And what bothered me was, if I have so if you look at near the bottom of page 2, all those little summary findings, it's appropriate that lot coverage goes down as lot area goes up. That's kind of logical. But when you look at the permitted coverages, if it says a half-acre zone, it's 30% coverage. If you've got a 1 acre lot and a half-acre zone, you still get 30% coverage. If you got a 3 acre lot, you get 30% coverage. So there are some distorted aspects within the zone. Luckily for us, in most of these zones with the smaller lots, there aren't a lot of big lots left over laying around. So it's not like, unless somebody wanted to tear houses down and put them back together, that wouldn't happen. I thought what was most troubling was that if I have a 10 acre lot in the R3 zone, I get 10% coverage with it. But if I'm in the R10 zone, it's half of that. And we're splitting the difference, and maybe we split the difference and we make it the same in R3, and then we solve that problem. But doing that doesn't slide easily into the cadence of 15%, 13.5, 12, 10. And it doesn't necessarily have to, but if you look at what we've done in the R3 zone, as the lot size less than 3 acres, so up to 3 acres, you get 15%. And then as you go over 3 acres, first you get 13.5% up to 5, you get 12% up to 10. And once you go over 10, and so the thing that's bad about this formula approach is that there are still steps. Every time you get to the very closest edge to the next step, you don't get what you would get if you just have that tiny bit more. By the same token, the problem that results in those zones, and the R3 might be the only one where it's an issue, where somebody really would get twice as much coverage on a 10 acre lot. If you all think it's no harm and no foul, it's an internal inconsistency in the ordinance, I would like, as your planner, when the judge says, why are they different? For some reason, if somebody ever said that, I'd like to have a reason, and right now I don't. And I'm not sure that there is a good reason to think.
There's a simple way to make it consistent.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm thinking we should do, is just.
Frank, I thought we talked about a graduated,
Just
that was
make it
gonna be
10%.
additive. So,
That's what we did with net habitable. You get so much, if you have this size lot, and then as you add the next increment of lot area,
Right.
you get an increment.
I thought that's
less.
where I thought that's where we ended at the last meeting.
I thought we ended up with everybody throwing their hands up and saying, Paul, 7.5% was a good number. Did I?
But that, I believe that was for the R10.
Right.
Excuse me, but I think what we were going to do is look at the other zones and come up with that graduated scale.
Well, and in theory, if you came at the graduated scale, you would use it throughout all of the residential zones equally, right? Then there'd be no inconsistency.
Well, except a small lot, you probably will always have higher coverage.
Oh, I didn't mean that. What I
Yeah,
meant
he
is
meant-
that in any zone, if you've got a lot up to a half acre, you're gonna get the 30%.
Oh.
Or up to an acre, you're gonna get, whatever it would have been, but and then, instead of variances because somebody came in, measured against something they clearly couldn't fit into, and they get a variance because they didn't fit, we get them to a place where they actually fit, that we believe made sense in the first place, so they're not going through all the rigmarole here, and they're getting a better outcome.
I have
Right.
a question. I have a question.
Yes,
In the R10, if you have an undersized lot, how does that affect?
There's some savings of undersized lots, existing undersized lots.
Yeah, it's a graduated scale, depending on the size of the lot, how much coverage you get. Frank, I don't know if you have that in front, I don't have that.
And where is that?
I'm sorry?
Where's
It's in the
that?
ordinance.
that-
It's in the R-
There's a section of non-conforming lots in the R10 zone.
It helps save them so they can still have a house on them, even though they're under 10. So it has
It's
some.
for existing lots, it's not for newly created lots. If you create a new quarter-acre lot, you don't get 30%.
No, for existing lots I'm talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So get a little brain damage, but
I don't think you have to
if
worry.
I'm
about it.
if I'm in an R10 and I've got a 6 acre lot, why should I be any better off than if I'm in an R3 and I got a 6 acre lot?
I don't know, but I don't think there's that much land in the R3 zone anymore.
Well,
But you already have that, you already have
the
that.
impact may be indifferent.
The impact
but-
we might be wasting our time, is what I'm trying to say, but I don't
But
know.
should it be as simple as that?
No, I don't know, because there are different zones in the sense that you could really have you could actually have a new subdivision in the R3 with smaller lots. Whereas you can't really have new lots in the R10s that are small.
Why should I be able to do something more intense in an R3 than I can do in an
It's a
R10?
different zone, I mean,
Because it's.
some of it's on 206,
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's more busy.
It's on, I think it's some of it's right on
Designed to be
206.
spaced
I
out.
really, I don't know, when, we'd have to look at the map, I don't really think there's that much vacant land in the R3, but I could be wrong.
Well, that's what I was trying to ask Paul.
I think it's on Route 206, north of,
Is there anything vacant in the R3 that's subdivided?
Yeah. Yeah, there are.
where
some.
is it, Paul? Is it?
North of here, along the river. This side of the first aid squad. It's a property near in the R3.
How about along 206?
No, it's actually removed from 206 because the
Yeah.
BN runs along 206.
Well, where the,
It's,
And then Thousmore Road is R3.
the little mansion is back there?
But if you subdivided a 10-acre and R3 down to three 3-acre plots, wouldn't that then?
Well, R3 does not mean 3 acre
No,
lots.
yeah, it's,
No, but if you had but if you had a 10-acre lot in the R3,
You would.
But R3 does not mean 3 acres is not the minimum lot size in the R3 zone.
but if you're in that zone and you have a lot that's 10 acres, right?
Right.
So it'll be treated differently than if you're in the R10 zone, correct?
Currently it is, yeah.
So if they want to subdivide that 10-acre in the R3, they would subdivide into smaller portions, they could do that?
Potentially.
Yeah, and then wouldn't it apply to the regular standard then, whether it be in the R3 or the R10?
Well, the R3 zone, depending on the size of the lot, changes the lot coverage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, why shouldn't it be the same? Whether it's in the R3 or the R10, the lot coverage?
Well, I think it's an interesting question. Should all residential lots, regardless of zone, have
Yeah.
the same lot coverage
Yeah.
depending on their size?
Yeah, is that wrong?
Well, but I hear George's point, and when you're in the woods, you're in the woods. When you're in, along
Right.
the highway, you're along the highway.
We want to have quarter-acre lots.
Yeah.
5% lot coverage is like not a very big house.
Right, and that's why you have the non-conforming lot size, but I think to address the in the woods comment, your lot size is 10 acres.
But quarter-acre lot is 30%, not 5, right?
Right, but what I'm saying is you can't make it standardized across all the zones because you wind up, right, if we pick 5% or 30%, you wind up with too much lot coverage in the
Oh, yeah.
No,
in the
that's
zones
not
that
what I'm
are
saying.
big, and not enough lot coverage in the zones that have small.
That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, no,
I'm
yeah.
saying that if you have a quarter-acre lot, regardless of what zone you're in, you get 30%.
Yeah.
Right.
If you have a 5-acre lot, regardless of what zone you're in, you get the same lot coverage.
Yeah, that's on
Yeah. that
And
makes
what
tremendous
distinguishes
sense. Got a lot on the
the
table.
lots and the spacing of the homes are the minimum lot area, the lot geometry, the setbacks, all those things created. But the coverage is the coverage.
so really I think the area where Frank is even saying, let's do some sort of graduated scale is the R3. Somehow make it,
No, I think
No.
what
No.
Paul and I are saying, and
No,
I think what Larry was saying was come up with the right numbers for this size lot in any residential zone, and then if that's the size lot you have, that's the standard, right, Paul?
Yeah.
What do you think? So it would look sort of like that R3.
yeah, but you're not gonna have new subdivisions in the the R1 and the R1/2 and the R100 that are much larger than the minimum lot size. I mean, why would you?
No, it's like if you've got a house up in Pottersville on a half acre in a neighborhood where,
The end neighborhood?
yeah, but it might not be, it might be at the bottom end where it's in the R10.
Okay.
So I'm living on a quarter or half an acre. It's a unique property. I want to live there, but there are a few of those anomalies. So that way, when you come in to talk to somebody about what you're allowed to do, they look at the table and the table has coverage that's reasonable for the size lot you have.
Yeah, you have a section called single-family residential lot coverage. It applies to all single-family zones.
So I blew it, Larry, but I'll get I know where to go with that next. Thank you.
Does that make sense to you, Frank?
It does, absolutely. It made, part of the reason I went through this whole exercise was to get, maybe I didn't talk myself into the solution, but so that we would come through that and realize the anomalies.
Frank, I'm looking at this table, again, call me fool. So R3, okay, you've got a simple 3-acre lot in the R3 gets 15% maximum coverage. If you have a less than 3-acre property in that same zone, you only get 13.5. It seems like we should be.
No, if you have,
Seems like the progression should be
If you
going
have
from
more.
R2 to R3, from higher maximum coverage to lower maximum coverage. And the one that's less than 3 acres should be juxtaposed to the one
he
that's
means-
3
Look
acres.
at the table above that where it says
Yeah.
permitted lot coverage in the R3. See those numbers?
Yes.
So it
it's an
says
interval.
15% for less than 3 acres.
Yeah, and well, I think the table below is incorrect, you should say.
Yeah, that's what I'm
less than.
catching here. The table below is
The
incorrect.
table below is incorrect. The bottom one should say less than
Less
3
than, yeah.
acres. Then it should say 3 to less than 5. And then it should say 5 to less than 10.
All right, all right.
You feel
I'm not
better.
crazy, that's good, I'm not crazy.
Well, at least not.
no, you're right, you're right. The one above, the chart above helps you see the intervals.
Okay.
I don't know whether he's thinking about shifting away from intervals, or is that what you're also thinking about?
Well, I think we're talking about doing that graduated scale, so it's up, level, up,
Yeah, so-
level, and not up
Yeah,
and
right.
down.
Yeah,
And
so
the
you have a
problem is
base
that-
level, if you have additional acreage, you get some additional lot
Well,
coverage.
let's talk about that, because,
That's a graph usually, I think.
yeah, what Larry's saying, you find it in the ordinance, if you look under net habitable floor area, we have in a couple of zones, we have a chart that shows how your lot is a certain size and you get this much net habitable floor area. And then as you add the next half acre, you get a smaller increment of floor area. And as you keep going up, that's very complicated. If we say if your lot's between 1 and 2 acres, you get 25% coverage, period.
But you and I spoke afterwards, and you said that there were a couple towns that you work with that have that same ordinance where
Well,
as,
this is one of them. What we did with net habitable here is really like the best example. Paul, talk, please. What do you think?
Yeah,
well,
and
that
the
was
thing
a
about
quick
it, because
baton
I'm
toss,
I'm the math guy that likes to draw charts.
Yeah.
Okay, the way, and I don't
I'm just
have
going to
anything,
correct whatever I say.
I always point and wave my arms, but let me try to do this. And bear with me, Lou, because I'm not on the screen. If you, normally what you'll see is you get, your lot coverage goes up like this. Your next interval, and then you used to get 15%, now you get 10, so you drop vertically. Then you come up at another slope, and then you go down like this again, and you do that. So rather than that, it should be a line that goes up, gets a little less steep, a less steep,
Right.
and then flattens out once you get to the top. That's the way it should be.
Yes. That's the way it will be.
You can use a graph in an ordinance if you want to, but
But
No, but we
there's a way to write it in
chart
words,
them.
so.
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
It's
it's,
got it all figured out.
Well, you should be
Okay.
worse off because you went up a, a quarter of an acre.
You have that, you have
Now you-
9.9 acres, you get this much. You get 10.1, you go to.
Yeah, that should happen.
yes. So scrap this memo.
Start over.
No, keep the 7.5% and
Yeah, and
the outdoor
exception
riding
for-
arena exemption.
And that
then-
works way into what we're going to do with the numbers.
Yeah,
So if I've got 50 acres in the R10 zone,
7.5.
you get 7.5%.
It's a lot of acres.
Wait,
if I've got
Yeah, but-
100 acres, I get
That's a
7.
But the way our
Yeah,
coverage
that's the way it is now,
standard
except that it's
is
5%.
mulch counts.
I don't know if
Right, I
mulch-
mean, like.
I don't know if
flower
mulch
beds,
counts, I don't think mulch counts, but gravel counts.
But gravel's like flat.
But that's
I
true
don't know, that we
everywhere.
had
That's-
conversations that like anything that you're putting
You could
in.
I asked
argue,
mulch a couple weeks
You
ago, I
asked
was told
mulch.
yes.
I think mulch is, what do you think, Paul?
And
I don't
flower
think-
beds.
Yeah, right, like if you're,
It depends on who's spreading it.
Yeah. Plastic underneath it.
right, so we can control house size and scale with habitable floor area, right? So we're not talking about building, I don't know, 75,000 square foot homes on these lots. We're talking about letting people utilize their property when they have, quite frankly, I mean, if you have 50 acres, you don't want to build on the road where everybody can see.
If you have 50 acres, you're not gonna have a problem. 7.5% or 5, even 5%?
Yeah.
It's so much acreage, it's
It
like, what the problem is when you, it's not just having a long driveway, it's basically having a lot of space that you like impervious. driveway, pool,
Pool,
tennis court, patios, extra driveways or turnarounds.
outdoor
I
kitchen.
mean, we're not that negative actually at 5%, but if you go to 7.5%, it's a lot. It's a lot. I think the number was like, well, Frank had the number. And once you go over 10 acres,
And we're not including outdoor riding rings, but we're including indoor riding.
Yes,
that's
the roofed areas. We're excluding.
The roofed area.
excluding outdoor riding
But anything on the
area,
roof still counts.
which is a big exclusion.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
it's so much the bill, use 7.5, what they're allowed on a 50-acre
yeah, it's
property.
amazing.
But that prevents them from ever subdividing.
No, not really. I mean,
Yeah,
they
because
just-
you're already at the max, you're
Yeah,
done.
if you've built that out, yeah.
You're done, you're locked in, you
Well, but no,
can't
but
sell
some
them.
of, some of it will be their driveway, and they will subdivide off their driveway. They'll try to make the driveway into a road or into a private road.
But they can't, because they already
No,
completed
they can. That's what-
7.5%.
They
It's happened before.
They take it away from their lot.
Sure.
There are ways,
Oh, all right.
a road and a private drive lets people do a lot of things, okay? You saw that when somebody took 130 acres and made 12 lots.
But if they already had a home on that
Pretty
lot,
lousy road.
that was
So
7.5%, they couldn't divide
Each
it, they'd have to
one.
knock the house.
No, each one, once they start subdividing, the house is never 7.5%. The house is
Oh,
never.
everything
but-
they've done, everything
Tom,
they've
Tim
done.
is saying, if you
Yeah.
have an existing lot, it's 50 acres.
Yeah.
It's built out to 7.5, 8,
You're
7.5.
done,
I
you're
understand.
max, yeah.
I
You
understand, but
can't start dividing lots until you start removing coverage.
you can make your private drive into a common drive, which puts it in a right of way, which takes it away from the lots. So your
But
coverage,
that's just a
your
drive.
coverage,
It's still not gonna
the
work.
drive is a lot of the
So
coverage.
trust the math guy.
All right,
It's not
but
gonna
still,
work.
you look at what happened, you don't really have your coverage in your house. You have a good, you have,
The amenity.
you know what you have? You have that first floor elevation, that's it. That is not 5% of a 10.
No, it's not. It's all the other stuff. But if you've got your lot already built out with your house, your pool, your tennis court, and all those other things, and
You're
your indoor riding arena, and you're at 7.5%, you're not subdividing another lot until you start to take off coverage.
But that's a huge amount of stuff to.
It is a huge amount of stuff,
Yeah.
but
That's why you
that's,
shouldn't
I don't think anybody has that.
we're not arguing that it's
Yeah.
not a huge amount of stuff.
Yeah.
We're just saying that, if you're maxed out, you're not making the lot smaller.
All right.
So I have a question. Does a farm assessed property have any impact on this?
No.
Yeah.
So if you have 50 acres and you want to carve out 45 for a farm, you have 5 acres left.
Farm assessment does not create lot.
You start
So
with
you
10.
still have your 50.
You still have your 50 acres,
Okay.
and your coverage is based on 50 acres.
Don't you start with 10
But-
acres,
but-
that's the
but-
house, the first.
I mean, a lot of times they'll carve out a separate
It
lot
just has to do with.
that's farm assessed.
No,
No,
it's not subdivided.
it's not a
It's
subdivision.
not subdivided.
It's not a subdivision.
It's called a Q parcel versus
Yeah,
a.
exactly.
the house
It's a
part.
tax
No,
out.
It's called
Just
a
a
cube
tax.
parcel, or if you're doing preservation, it's an exception area.
It's an exception for area for the house, but they're not necessarily a separate lot. They could be if they're properly approved that way, but they're not necessarily.
So if it is a separate lot,
If it is a separate lot,
The
then
lot coverage applies to the
That's a
lot.
sub.
each
that's a
lot,
separate
each lot has to comply.
okay.
We've got a variance. I mean, I don't think you've seen too many variances for going over 5%, to tell you the truth. I hope there were those two that you saw this past year, but before that, how many times do you see them? I don't know.
No, I thought we had more than that, Tom, I really did.
We had a couple.
I'd like to know, but I don't think it's
I
that
count
many.
3 or 4.
Yeah, that's what I.
Pretty hard to
thought.
use up more than 5% of a 10-acre lot.
In the driveway. I counted.
They can, well, they had to, but
I know.
they were already over.
So we still on
Yeah.
7.5 is still what we're thinking?
Yeah,
for 10?
7.5, and then we're thinking of these graduated scale for the smaller lots. I mean, if you want to do something else, you can.
No, no.
We like
Don't get that going again.
It's a good time to do it, but
In the table for the undersized lots in the 10-acre zone, that's somewhere I could see? That we can
not
see?
yet, but he's gonna.
But no, it's in the ordinance someplace.
There are standard for some, there is a standard for.
Yeah, there's a standard for undersized lots,
Substandard
but it's
lots.
not yet graduated. It may be graduated, but it's not graduated the way.
It's not set up the way we're talking about.
Right,
But it will be.
yes, that's what I'm gonna do.
And he'll apply it to all zones, probably.
And it'll be whatever, if you're applying for a building permit, and you're in that lot size range, it'll just tell you the answer, you won't have to go through a bunch of. And Paul, we don't deduct, the resource restricted lands don't come out of lot coverage, right?
No.
So you got a 20-acre lot,
You
even
have
if only
20
2 acres of it is usable, you get all the coverage you would get. Which I think is reasonable.
So where does it get discounted?
It gets discounted for the total lot yield for subdivisions and the total floor area ratio for site plans.
No, that's what came in,
Bedminster
when
Farm.
dealing with that with Bedminster Farm, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
That was just because that was a subdivision. The
Okay.
resource conservation constraints adjustments applies.
So wetlands doesn't matter.
They
Chain
actually,
corridors don't matter.
It doesn't reduce your gross lot area.
Okay.
Coverage is based on gross lot.
Except it limits your ability to subdivide.
Well, some, right, but we're
Yeah,
not talking
which is what
subdivision.
you want.
For lot coverage, just numbers.
And that's where, if you go back 30 years, the discussion was, we want an honest 10 acres. We want 10 acres to meet. And it really doesn't. That's not what the resource constraints ordinance does.
And if somebody's got some other bulk restrictions, like setbacks and things like that, then they'd have to come here if they do.
Yeah.
okay, so that'll be something for the, future meeting based upon this.
We're gonna try to send this out like tomorrow, while it's fresh in our minds, so we just look at the table.
That would be great.
Want to put
Paul,
money on
do you have
that?
time to do that?
Frank's doing it. He's got a mouse in his
No, I'm
pocket.
interpreting what
No, he's
Frank,
gonna
what
look
Frank
at
was
what I
saying.
do. I'm actually.
When,
gonna
when
do
Frank
it.
said, well, Paul will.
Paul's good at math.
They talk to one.
See, what I do is I do something and then he tells me all the reasons it's wrong, and then when we're done.
And then it goes to you.
And Rich says this is a bunch of crap.
Let me just, on that same memo, there were 3 other things we
Yeah.
didn't talk about last time. The
Right.
drive-through, from what I understood, there's a no change response to that. Banks still have drive-throughs, but we're not adding drive-throughs. There's no change.
Can we just revisit the drive-through thing for once?
No, we're not. We're not.
I make a motion not to allow.
No. You asked the question if we could. The answer is no.
Rich, look behind you. You see the logo up there? That's a dead horse getting beat. That is not corn. That horse has been beaten to death.
I'm sorry, mechanic.
As I said, that one was resolved.
We are. Apparently we are, right?
Yep, we are. I do think that the landscape and building lighting discussions deserve some more time. I'm not saying it has to be right now.
Yeah.
But there was too big of a difference between opinions. Some people just think it's plain out of place. Other people are maybe because they already have some of it, but also because it's an enhancement for a reason. You might not perceive it that way. But I think to just say nothing about it means it's the Wild West, pretty much.
Well, no, it's already in it. We already have an ordinance.
No, if it took it away, I think he's saying.
Yeah.
We have the prohibition.
But if we say nothing, it just stays the way it is, right?
Right.
Right.
If you
And if
don't
that's what
change
everybody
it.
really believes
I
is
mean,
the right thing.
It's not broken. Are you guys,
Well, here, no, but we went through this. Kathy's not here. Let's table it till when Kathy's.
Okay, fair enough.
Some people like it.
And did we, Madam Chair, was there a sign committee appointed?
Yes, there
Okay,
is.
I thought so.
I don't know how many times. Do you know if they've met 3 times?
3 times so
Yeah,
far.
Ann's
Oh,
on it,
wow.
yeah.
And Lou is on.
And Lou is on it.
I'm glad
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
glad you're taking care of that.
Yeah.
We're on it.
Yes, sort of.
I keep waving the loop, can't see him here, that I'm doing.
He's not seeing you wait.
Well, he's waving back at you and you can't see
So
him either,
let
so.
me ask you this, do you think you'll be ready for a May meeting for this one?
What is it that you want to be ready for? Because we've been going back and forth with lots of different discussions about different zones and different neighborhoods and different. So if the board is looking for a review or a report back, I think we're going to need Anna can jump in here, but we're gonna need some guidance from the board as actually what you really want, because we haven't come to any real determinations on anything yet.
And a lot of what we've been talking about is process for, when applications come in, what happens to them so they get routed in the right place and they get the right information and they know if they need a variance or not,
Well, I think,
if they're in a historic district or not.
yeah, well, I think that discussion needs to go to Paul as well, because they'll have to be the one to deal with all this. So, why don't we have?
Suzanne has been on
I
our
can
calls.
see you guys.
Glad
Well-
you're taking care of that, Anna.
We are going to be able to have a meeting in May when we can discuss the master board again, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, master plan.
Actually, there's still the question as to whether or not we were meeting next week, except for the mayor
Yeah, right.
and Lou are not available.
Well, the mayor's not coming, I'm
Sure.
not coming.
Anna is not. So more than likely, it didn't make sense to have a meeting next week.
Next week, right, that's what I was thinking.
Sorry,
Right.
can't say. I heard he was already.
On the 13th.
So we have May 4th.
Colin's not here on the 13th.
I'm not here either.
Okay.
OEM training.
Okay, so that's done. So we're not doing the April 13th meeting. Everybody got that? So we
Yes.
have May 4th or May 11th. Now, obviously, we can meet May 4th and discuss.
Let's talk
everybody's-
about May 4th then.
There's
Because that's
no
right.
way that sign committee is gonna have something on that for us.
Yeah.
Well, I think they should have something.
Sounds like they need your.
Well, that's why I throw this question out to the board.
No way.
What would you like to know? What information would you like to get from the sign committee?
Well, maybe even if it's what you're considering and the issues that you're considering, maybe the different zones you're talking about, maybe the process we're talking about, so we can maybe give you some guidance as to help you focus.
We could absolutely get you a report by May 4th.
I think.
Yes.
I think so.
I don't know.
Looking like a
I
lawyer.
heard the HPC president talking about
Recommended changes are out of the question.
Bridgewater and
So, if I could just,
Wall and
We've been
whether
sidetracked
Pottery
a
Barn
couple
gets.
times.
if I could just jump in there for a second. So we're talking about, one of the things we've been talking about is code enforcement. We want to create more consistency in the sign ordinances, but we don't really have a very prominent code enforcement situation right now. So zone code sign enforcement is something that we're talking about. Like Anna talked about, the process. Do you go to the historic commission first? Do you go to the zoning officer first? Do you go to the land use board first? And we're trying to work it out. The zoning officer, Susanna, has been she's been two out of 3 meetings. So she's trying to help us work through that. And we can certainly tell you that today, that we've been talking about specific properties as well. And some properties like Pluckerman Courtyards that has multiple standalone signs that may not have ever been approved. So we're talking about different topics, and we're trying to get it down to something more narrow. So we'll probably be able to give you a report at some point in the future.
Well done.
But not May 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
We can report.
Well, can I just ask one question? Process stuff is important, for sure.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious about whether or not any part of our review needs to look at some of the problem areas with signage, like those things that wave in the breeze, or specifically, businesses are always asking for more signage. And sometimes when you go from 8 square feet to 12 square feet, wow, it's a 50% increase, but when you drive down the street, not so much.
So
So
we're
make-
talking about that.
Yeah, I
We're
think-
talking about sign stencils. We're talking about temporary signs and banners.
Oh, great.
Trying to find a way to navigate that. And enforcement in the temporary sign statute is problematic because somebody's got to be counting the 30 days.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's really problematic.
Right. Well, I
Thank you.
think we should try to focus on May 4th and try to get,
Okay.
Just to see where we are and if we can,
At least a
Help
summary
focus.
of the opportunities and,
Yeah,
things you're
yeah.
discussing.
yeah.
Because part of the problem is that the signage ordinance is so restricted, people feel like they have to work around it.
Yeah,
And I will tell you, there's kind of been a timeout on sign enforcement since the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
Right, we know
That
that.
was
Well, and now we're trying to rein everybody back in.
We're not dealing with it. Anybody can do whatever they need to do to survive.
But what we
Now that's
did,
being
but
rolled
what
back.
we authorized from the township committee to Zuzana was the COVID situation is over. Enforcement is starting up again. Zuzana sent a letter out to all the businesses, all of the Bedminster businesses.
Most of the Bedminster businesses. We missed a couple.
Oh, really? Okay. So most of the businesses received notice that, guess what? Enforcement is starting up again. Take down your feather flag, take down your temporary whatever. And it's been a while, but we are seeing some of those signs being removed.
Did we take them down for them, or did we just find them?
We actually can't find them.
We asked them to take them down.
We asked them.
I do have one other thing to say here, in regards to enforcement. There's also the concept of patrolling the town, which is a problem because Susanna's only 20 hours a week, so she can't necessarily get to every corner of the town and try to, get these whack-a-mole signs as they keep popping up. However, Kathy Christie has been patrolling the town, and she's creating a list for us and taking pictures. So she's going to be reporting to the sign committee soon on her sign patrol report.
Well, there was a deputy zoning officer at one point who was a planning board member.
Can we cut that discussion off? Board members are not patrolling, or we're not gonna, she's doing it on her own.
As a citizen, not in.
You are not the enforcers, like, don't even use those words, but I get it. So Shoshana is our enforcer.
But see something, say something if you see something. You can say something.
Yes, please.
You can always report it to the zoning
You're gonna hear
officer.
that.
No, you can report it to the zoning officer.
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah.
judge.
You can
Yes,
report it
please.
to the zoning officer.
Yeah.
You're losing on this one.
I know.
It's a big job, we know that. It
Don't do it.
is a very big job, and it is, more complex than just a sign. There's a lot more to it, so. Well, I think that's what we need to know, so we can perhaps give you some guidance as well.
Right, and then I've got the Travellini factor. When you got 600 feet on Route 202, you should get a bigger sign
Yeah, right.
than,
It shouldn't be a secret that I have a business in Bedminster, that's all.
and then you got the corollary of the Travellini rule, which is you're the quick check, you've got 6 different places. Each one deserves, right, each one should, right, we're trying to keep
Deserves a
those
sign,
businesses
yeah.
in business.
Deserves a sign.
But then you bring up courtyard, and now you got a screwy situation because those businesses aren't even on the road.
Right, don't front on the street, and so.
Yeah. It is complex.
So you
no
need
question.
a corollary to the Travellini corollary. It'd be tough.
We have one. We have one.
Rich, if the
It's the
mayor's.
corollary to the traffic.
I remember we had a dentist who had a tooth in front of his building, and we made him take it down.
For a colonial town, that would have been standard practice, wouldn't it? Right?
Yeah.
It would-
Exactly.
It's a sample of his work.
In any event, we'll have the report
It's got
next
a
month.
filling in it.
Would it be fair to say that's kind of
We beat that
status
one
check
bad
and
enough.
feedback
Yes,
as opposed to a final?
yes.
Okay.
And Frank
And
wants
we'll
us to
give
be
you
a
some details
tourist
on what we're talking
destination.
about.
We could say that was George Washington's wooden tooth.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Because he slept here.
It's
Yes.
colonial.
When you drive through Chester, you see a calculator, that's for aeroengineering, right there.
Calculator, no.
It's got the whole beans.
Oh, it's got the abacus?
Abacus.
Okay.
Slide rule.
Gave that quiz in my office. Everybody failed.
All right, you see where you started, Frank? See what you started.
Wasn't my idea. Sorry.
It was on this paper.
I'm done. I said everything I have to say.
Just that drive-through.
Not as quick as I hoped.
Good try.
That was good. That was good effort, Rich.
Yes.
We almost went for it.
Yeah. Right.
Has anybody driven past the Burger King or the new Primrose School
Yes.
in the evening hours?
No, not at evening. No, I did not.
Seems really bright.
really bright.
Because the Primrose School kind of sits up high there,
Yeah.
and those lights, I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I would like people to drive by at night and see what you think of the Burger King also. The Burger King and the Primrose, it's like I'm in,
We're talking
Times Square.
what time at night? What time at night we're talking?
Now,
10,
when we leave, right?
yeah, I mean, when it's dark. But just,
Are they required to turn them off at a certain time? Like 11?
I think it's 10 or 11.
Sounds like something for Kathy Christie to look into.
You like it.
Tom's gonna have an aneurysm.
Send me to court,
Frank, do you have, or does the township have a device to measure the lumens or not?
I do.
Okay. I mean, there's an app on the iPhone.
Yeah, and I think what you'll find, George, is the measured illumination levels are fine. What you're gonna see is that the source is very bright, because that's the nature of the LED.
And the temperature of that light.
Yeah, we have dialed down the temperature to 3,500. Because I'm trying to come in with 4,000 or 5,000.
That's 3,500 is low.
Very harsh.
Is that what's going on now?
Yellow.
3,500 is
It's
warmer.
warmer.
Would Primrose, would that have been with them?
That would have been 3,500. 3,500 is pretty white.
It's about medium.
Yeah. So it's hard to get much less than 3,500 on a site light.
Supply-wise, you mean?
Manufacturer-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't make them. Had some guy come in with 10,000.
Some are now.
Yeah, we had a tough time in our neighborhood. Yeah.
Like super.
Trying to get-
I thought those whole things.
Did
you say we have a closed session?
Yeah.
Play around with the,
We have one closed session.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I think,
If there's any,
finished here.
if you want
unless
to do any
anybody has anything
discussion,
else. Anything?
it's good to do discussion before you have a closed session if you want, if you had any discussion items.
Yeah.
Anybody have any?
Rich would like to talk about
Any more?
You have to go over here to do that.
Well, after I talk about what I'm gonna do with my 50-acre site.
put a drive-through on it.
With your 100 signs.
Wait for a variance, that's all. All right, so we have a motion to adjourn?
We need to do a motion to go into closed session pursuant, and I'll help you with it. It's a resolution to go into closed or executive session pursuant to section 7 and 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act to discuss matters of attorney-client privileged communication and pending litigation, 1525 Bedminster LLC versus Bedminster Land Use Board. The matters to be revealed to the public upon the completion of all litigation and appeals and the removal of NEPA confidentiality. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And a roll
All
call.
in favor?
Aye. And it's 7:59 and we're going to closed session, and now the tape recording goes off and access to the Zoom. And it's not a
Zoning
hearing.
officer has gotten a number of calls, and she asked me about this today. This is a use that I'm sure the board will like even less than drive-throughs, and Rich probably won't even like it. Clothing bins.
Oh, yeah.
And that, they're currently not listed in the ordinances permitted, therefore they're prohibited. She said, is that the way the board really wants it? Because she's getting inquiries. And I said, I'm pretty sure that's the way the board wants it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Clothing bins.
Clothing?
Clothing bins.
Donation, clothing bin.
Clothing bins, where you go and you throw all your.
We approved one over at Cancer Support.
Did you?
Yeah.
Under what?
I don't know.
it was a couple iterations
It
ago.
was a special use permit.
I think it
Because
had to
when we
be,
approved
I
them
remember it had to have the fence around it, and it was, yeah, it was a little different.
One at, whatever
Temporary
they call
thing,
that?
isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think Crossroads for Hope.
Crossroads for Hope, that's right.
Once in a while.
We don't have room for them all over town.
So they'd be part of an application to this board. They're not a permitted use, part of a site plan.
They become garbage repositories.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, and it's a weird business too.
Anything
It
else.
is. It's a strange business.
It's
It's really a
not up
business.
there.
It's not as
No.
If it's not being operated by someone reputable, it's.
It's a.
And I will take no for an
Become
answer.
rags. Yeah.
No.
No, the ones like in a church parking lot or something.
Thank you.
We all agree.
Sometimes they even put them down without asking the owner.
You had
Yes.
Kings all the time.
Right.
It's hard.
They put them down in Kings, and you leave it there, and then.
Motion
Okay.
to adjourn?
So now we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Wait,
What's
what?
matter?
What's wrong?
What's?
There's more.
There's
I just
more?
wanted to make sure you people are jumping around.
We're not sticking to the agenda, are we?
Mexican jumping.
Oh, we have some more stuff?
No,
Oh, wait,
we are.
comments? Comments? No? What else?
Yes, we're good.
What?
I'm sorry.
Comments? You want me to do comments? Yeah, I can do comments.
I second the mayor's motion.
Happy birthday to Chair Gutschall.
Thank you so much.
Carol.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Janine,
Yeah.
for getting the cake
And singing.
and singing. And for cutting,
Saving a piece of the loop.
and for being so wonderful to all of us.
She didn't even get a muffin. Well, that might be, she got a real cake.
And
Baked by Jimmy Elizabeth. You know, you see, Archie not turning off the recording. This is evidence to be used against you in the future.
Archie Bunker always do that, hanging
it's just so wonderful,
Mariana?
it's so wonderful for Janine.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See you, Lou.
Aye.